Hello, and welcome to our podcast on the impact of COVID-19 on entrepreneurship. The pandemic has brought about unprecedented challenges for entrepreneurs around the world, but it has also presented unique opportunities for those who are able to adapt and innovate. In this episode, we will be exploring the trends in startups and small businesses, as well as discussing tips for starting a business in a post-COVID world. Our goal is to provide information and inspiration for young people who are interested in entrepreneurship. Today, we are joined by a special guest, a young entrepreneur who has experience in navigating the challenges of starting and running a business during the pandemic. We are excited to hear their insights and personal experiences as we dive deeper into the topic. The pandemic has forced us to rethink the way we live and work, and this includes entrepreneurship. We will be discussing how the pandemic has impacted different industries and business models, and how entrepreneurs have had to pivot and adapt to survive. We will also be discussing the importance of resilience and innovation in the face of adversity. Before we get started, we want to acknowledge that the pandemic has affected everyone in different ways, and we understand that many people have been struggling during this time. We hope that this podcast can provide some positivity and inspiration for those who are interested in entrepreneurship and are looking for ways to overcome the challenges presented by the pandemic. So, without further ado, let's get started. As we all know, the COVID-19 pandemic has been a huge challenge for entrepreneurs worldwide. The economic impact has been felt by everyone, but especially by small businesses and startups. Our guest today has first-hand experience with the challenges and opportunities that have emerged during this time. So, let's dive into the challenges that entrepreneurs have faced during the pandemic. One of the most significant challenges has been the loss of revenue. Many businesses have had to close their doors temporarily or permanently due to reduced demand or restrictions on operations. Supply chain disruptions have also been a major issue, with delays and shortages affecting many industries. But amidst all these challenges, there have also been opportunities for entrepreneurs to pivot and adapt to the changing circumstances. One of the most notable opportunities has been the increase in e-commerce. With more people shopping online due to social distancing measures, businesses that have been able to shift their focus to e-commerce have been able to thrive. Remote work solutions have also become increasingly important, with many businesses adapting to remote work in order to keep their employees safe and productive. This has led to the rise of new tools and technologies to support remote work and collaboration. Our guest today has faced both challenges and opportunities during the pandemic, and we are excited to hear their perspective on how to navigate these difficult times as an entrepreneur. So, let's move on to our next topic. Let's talk about some of the latest trends in startups and small businesses. As we know, the pandemic has forced many businesses to adapt and change their strategies in order to survive. What are some of the trends you've seen emerge in the past year?
Well, one trend that's been on the rise is digital-first business models. With more people spending time online, businesses have had to shift their focus to e-commerce and online sales. This has been especially true for businesses that rely on foot traffic, such as retail stores and restaurants. Many of them have had to quickly adapt to offering online ordering and delivery options.
That's definitely been a big change. What about marketing and advertising? Have you seen any shifts in that area?
Absolutely. With so many businesses moving online, social media marketing has become even more important. It's a cost-effective way for businesses to reach their target audience and build their brand. I've also seen a lot of businesses using influencer marketing to promote their products or services.
Interesting. Can you share some examples of businesses that have adapted successfully during the pandemic?
Sure. One example is a restaurant in my area that quickly pivoted to offering takeout and delivery options, as well as meal kits that customers could make at home. They also used social media to promote their new offerings and keep customers engaged. Another example is a fitness studio that I follow on Instagram. They've been offering virtual classes and personal training sessions, which has allowed them to reach a wider audience beyond their local community. And finally, I've seen a lot of small businesses, like beauty and personal care businesses, offering virtual consultations and home delivery services. It's a way for them to continue providing their services while keeping their customers safe.
Those are great examples. It's inspiring to see how businesses have adapted and found new ways to thrive during such a challenging time. Now let's talk about some tips for starting a business in a post-COVID world. It can be daunting to start a business at any time, let alone during a global pandemic. Our guest today has some valuable insights and tips to share with us. John, what are some key considerations for starting a business in a post-COVID world?
Well, one of the most important considerations is to understand the changing consumer behavior. The pandemic has drastically altered the way people shop and consume products, so it's crucial to be aware of these changes and adapt your business accordingly. For example, many people are now more conscious about health and safety, so businesses need to ensure they have proper measures in place to address these concerns.
That's a great point. What are some other important factors to keep in mind?
Another key factor is developing a robust digital presence. With the rise of e-commerce and remote work, businesses need to have a strong online presence to reach their target audience. This includes having a well-designed website, utilizing social media marketing, and implementing effective digital marketing strategies.
Those are all important factors for any business. Can you share some specific advice on how to navigate the challenges and capitalize on the opportunities presented by the pandemic?
Sure. One of the main challenges is the economic uncertainty brought on by the pandemic. It's important to have a solid business plan in place that takes into account potential risks and challenges. Additionally, entrepreneurs should be open to pivoting their business model if necessary. For example, some businesses have shifted to offer virtual or contactless services to adapt to the changing landscape.
That's excellent advice. Do you have any final thoughts or tips for our listeners who are interested in starting a business in a post-COVID world?
Yes, my final tip is to be patient and adaptable. The pandemic has created a lot of uncertainty and change, but it has also presented new opportunities for innovation and growth. By staying adaptable and being open to change, entrepreneurs can position themselves for success in the post-COVID world.
Now it's time to get to know a bit better the personal experience of our guest in those challenging times. Can you tell us a bit about your business and how you got started?
Sure. I started a digital marketing agency that specializes in helping small businesses improve their online presence. I've always been interested in marketing and saw a need for businesses to pivot to a digital-first approach during the pandemic.
That's really interesting. How did you adapt to the challenges posed by the pandemic in starting your business?
One of the biggest challenges was not being able to meet with clients in person. So, I had to quickly learn how to communicate effectively over video calls and manage projects remotely. I also had to adjust my services to fit the changing needs of businesses, such as focusing on social media marketing and e-commerce solutions.
It sounds like you were able to pivot quickly and take advantage of the opportunities presented by the pandemic. Can you share any tips for young people interested in starting a business in a post-COVID world?
Definitely. First and foremost, it's important to understand the changing consumer behavior and how it affects your business idea. You need to be able to adapt and pivot quickly. Also, having a strong online presence is crucial. Make sure you have a professional website, active social media accounts, and a clear brand message. And finally, don't be afraid to ask for help and seek out mentorship from experienced entrepreneurs.
Now, John, we've talked about the challenges and opportunities presented by the pandemic, but we're curious to know about your personal experience. What are some of the most recent challenges that you've faced in managing your business?
Well, it's been a tough few months, to say the least. One of the biggest challenges we've encountered is with our supply chain. We rely on materials from overseas, and with all the disruptions to shipping and logistics, it's been a struggle to keep up with demand.
That sounds really tough. How have you been managing that issue?
We've had to get creative. We've been exploring alternative suppliers and looking for ways to streamline our production process. We've also had to adjust our lead times and communicate more transparently with our customers about any delays.
It's great to hear that you're finding ways to adapt. Have there been any other challenges that you've encountered?
Yes, another challenge has been with staffing. We had to let some employees go during the height of the pandemic, and now that things are picking up again, it's been a struggle to find qualified candidates to fill those positions.
That's a common issue we've been hearing from other businesses as well. Have you implemented any strategies to address that?
Definitely. We've been offering more flexible work arrangements, like part-time or remote options, to attract a wider pool of candidates. We've also been investing more in training and development programs to help our existing employees upskill and take on more responsibilities.
It sounds like you're really committed to finding solutions to these challenges. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us, John. And that brings us to the end of today's podcast. Let's quickly recap what we've discussed so far. We started off by looking at the challenges and opportunities that entrepreneurs have faced during the pandemic. We saw that while there have been some challenges, such as revenue loss and supply chain disruptions, there have also been opportunities, such as the rise of e-commerce and the need for remote work solutions. We then delved into the latest trends in startups and small businesses, such as the shift towards digital-first business models and the importance of social media marketing. We also shared some inspiring examples of businesses that have successfully adapted during the pandemic. We discussed some tips for starting a business in a post-COVID world. We highlighted the importance of understanding the changing consumer behavior and developing a robust digital presence. Finally, we had the pleasure of speaking with our young guest entrepreneur, who shared their personal experience of starting a business during the pandemic. It was inspiring to hear about their journey, and how they have adapted to the challenges and capitalized on the opportunities presented by the pandemic. As we wrap up, I'd like to leave our listeners with some final thoughts. The pandemic has brought with it unprecedented challenges, but it has also presented some unique opportunities for young people interested in entrepreneurship. We encourage our listeners to explore their own entrepreneurial aspirations, and take advantage of the resources available to them. As we come to the end of this podcast, we want to thank our guest entrepreneur for sharing their valuable insights and experiences with us. We hope that you, our listeners, found this podcast informative and inspiring, and that it has given you a better understanding of the challenges and opportunities of entrepreneurship in a post-COVID world. Before we end, we want to remind you of our partner in this podcast, Cheer. Cheer is an Erasmus Plus co-funded initiative aimed at providing equal opportunities for young people who are weakened by mental health problems, which have become more prevalent due to the COVID-19 crisis and civilization changes. The goal is to improve the well-being of young people in terms of their mental, physical, and social condition. We encourage you to visit their website to learn more about their work. Lastly, we want to emphasize that the views expressed in this podcast are solely those of the authors and our guest. The European Commission's support for the production of this podcast does not constitute endorsement of its contents, and the Commission cannot be held responsible for any use that may be made of the information contained herein. Thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to join us next time for another episode of our Cheer Youth Friendly podcast.